Imagine waking up one morning and finding the ocean at your front door. Within minutes, that peaceful morning becomes a desperate fight for survival. No earthquake, no volcano, just wind, water, and nature's unstoppable power. A hurricane doesn't simply destroy buildings, it erases entire communities. For more than a century, America has faced storms so powerful they changed history forever. Galveston, Katrina, Maria, Ian. These aren't just names, they're reminders of what happens when humanity stands in the path of nature. But what makes these storms so deadly? And could an even stronger hurricane strike America again? This is the story of America's deadliest hurricanes. Before we look at history's deadliest hurricanes, we first need to answer one simple question. What exactly is a hurricane? Think of the ocean as a giant battery. Every hot summer day, the sun slowly charges it with heat. When ocean temperatures rise above about 26.5 degrees Celsius, that stored energy begins escaping into the atmosphere. As warm, moist air rises, cooler air rushes in to replace it. The cycle repeats again and again. Soon, the Earth's rotation twists this growing storm. Little by little, a massive spinning engine is born. A mature hurricane can stretch more than 300 miles across. That's wider than many entire U.S. states. Its winds can tear roofs apart. Its rain can drown entire neighborhoods. But surprisingly, neither of those is usually the deadliest part. The real killer is something called storm surge. Imagine someone pushing an entire ocean toward the shore. That's exactly what hurricane winds do. And in American history, no storm demonstrated that terrifying power better than the hurricane that struck Galveston in 1900. It was September 8th, 1900. Galveston, Texas was one of America's richest coastal cities. No one knew their world was only hours away from disappearing. Back then, weather satellites didn't exist. Modern radar didn't exist. People depended on limited forecasts, and many believed the city was naturally protected from major storms. Far out in the Gulf of Mexico, a powerful hurricane was growing stronger. With every passing hour, it moved closer and closer to Galveston. At first, people noticed only stronger winds and unusually high waves. Some even gathered along the shoreline to watch the storm. They had no idea the ocean itself was about to rise. Then, everything changed. The storm surge arrived. A massive wall of seawater rushed into the city. Homes, streets, entire neighborhoods vanished beneath the flood. Powerful winds, estimated at around 145 miles per hour, tore apart buildings already weakened by the rising water. What the ocean couldn't carry away, the wind destroyed. By the time the hurricane moved on, Galveston had been devastated. Modern estimates suggest between 6,000 and 12,000 people lost their lives. It remains the deadliest natural disaster in American history by death toll. The disaster changed America forever. Galveston later built a massive seawall and raised much of the city's elevation, hoping such a tragedy would never happen again. But more than a century later, another hurricane would expose a different kind of weakness. Not a lack of technology, but the limits of preparation. Its name? Katrina. More than 100 years after Galveston, America believed it was ready. With satellites, powerful computers, and advanced forecasting, surely history couldn't repeat itself. Then, August 2005 arrived. A tropical storm formed over the Atlantic Ocean and began moving west. That storm would soon become Hurricane Katrina. As Katrina entered the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, it rapidly became stronger. The ocean was feeding the storm with enormous energy. Soon, its winds reached nearly 175 miles per hour, a Category 5 monster. Millions of people evacuated, but not everyone could leave. When Katrina struck the Gulf Coast, the strongest winds caused enormous destruction. But the greatest catastrophe came after the storm, when several levees protecting New Orleans failed. Nearly 80% of New Orleans ended up underwater. More than 1,800 people lost their lives. And the disaster changed how America prepares for hurricanes forever. But Katrina wasn't the last warning. Nature still had more storms to unleash.
12 years after Katrina, another hurricane reminded the world that modern technology still couldn't stop nature. Its name? Hurricane Maria, September 2017. Maria struck Puerto Rico with devastating force. Entire towns lost electricity. Hospitals struggled to operate. Communication simply disappeared. Recovery took months. For many communities, it took years. Then, 5 years later, another powerful hurricane arrived. Hurricane Ian, one of the strongest hurricanes ever to hit Florida. Storm surge once again became the greatest threat. Entire neighborhoods were swallowed by the sea. Despite decades of scientific progress, one truth remained unchanged: no technology can stop a hurricane. But the biggest question isn't about the past, it's about the future. Could America face an even deadlier hurricane? So, could a hurricane even stronger than Katrina strike America again? The answer is yes, and scientists believe the risk could increase in a warming climate. Warmer oceans don't necessarily create more hurricanes, but they can provide more energy to the storms that do form. That means stronger winds, heavier rainfall, and potentially higher storm surges. The good news, today's forecasts are far more accurate than they were a century ago. Millions of lives have been saved through early warnings and timely evacuations. Because in the end, the greatest defense against a hurricane isn't technology alone, it's preparation. Nature will always be powerful. Our choice is whether we're ready when it arrives. The next hurricane may already be forming far beyond the horizon. The only question is where and when.